to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, call the roll.
Lada.
Here.
Malloy.
Here.
Dunlap.
Here.
Casper.
Here.
Lloyd. Here. Barry.
Here.
Nenza.
Here. 3.1, review of budget and recommendation for adoption.
All right, yes, this is the official public hearing for our budget. So I have a little presentation to show you up here. And this month is going to be a little bit shorter than last month, mostly because we're not reviewing what happened last year. Let's jump right in, shall we? So here's where we are on the budget timeline. This is the final budget. The law requires us to issue a preliminary budget in August, and then it has to be available for public viewing for 30 days before we can pass the final budget. So we've reached that point, and this is the final budget here. So here is the quick summary showing the overall of all of our funds. $41 million beginning fund balance, $44 million in revenue, $47 in expenditures, so that's a deficit of almost $2.5 million, leaving an ending fund balance of $38.5 million. If you take out the one-time things, I call construction a one-time thing, and then we're also abating property taxes as part of the property tax relief grant of $1.7 million. If you take those things out, which are the unusual items, then just our ongoing operations, it's a deficit of $241,000. Even though we like that number to be zero or positive, that's an acceptable deficit. Last year, if you recall, that number was 1.7 million, so we've made substantial progress in reducing that. And even last month at the preliminary budget, that number was $315,000 negative. So we're inching back toward break even. So let's talk about what has changed since the preliminary budget that you saw last month. On the revenue side, the revenues are up a total of about $500,000. Consisting of those categories that you see there. CPPRT stands for Corporate Personal Property Replacement Tax. It's a number that comes from the state. It's kind of a tax on corporations, and the amount varies wildly from year to year, but this year it's going to be up. Interest income, interest rates continue to go up, so I increased the estimate from last month by another $100,000. We received the final evidence-based funding numbers, and that's about $132,000 more, and our transportation reimbursement is going to be higher. So all of that combined means our revenue is going to be about $500,000 higher than we talked about last month. Here is where our revenue comes from. You can see that the majority of it is local. In most years, that number is in the mid-80s, 85%, but since we're abating property taxes this year, local revenue will be down at 78%, and the state number will be higher because it's offset by higher state funding. Those are good things. So total revenue, $44.7 million. And then here is how the budget is different from last year. Local revenue is actually down because we're abating property taxes. State revenue is up because the state is offsetting our property tax abatement with higher state funding. And then we have continuing ESSER grants, so the federal revenue is up also. So in total, our revenue budget, $44.7 million, is about $1.3 million higher than last year. On the expense side, here is what changed from last month's preliminary budget. Essentially, it's salaries and benefits, and those are from new positions that we've hired. Last month, the budget was presented before school started, and we're always on the borderline in a number of sections where we have added some new teachers where sections went over our numbers. So salaries and benefits are both up. The other two items are just essentially fine tuning some grants, and they kind of offset each other. But the total is that the expenses are higher than what we talked about last month by 450,000. So if you remember, revenues were up by 500,000, expenses are up by 450, so that's why we're better than we were at this time last month. So a lot of numbers on this page, but this is where our money goes. And you could see 70% of it is salaries and benefits, and then the rest is a combination of all of the other things. Total expenses, 47.2 million. And then here is the current budget compared to the previous year's budget. And our total budget is actually down compared to last year. And a big part of that is that bonds line. This is the year that our referendum bonds from 10 or 12 years ago were paid off. So the bond number is almost $1 million lower. So again, I'm going to end with the bigger picture where we started. Fund balance 41 million, ending with 38 million, and those are healthy numbers. We've kind of set for ourselves a goal of 80% of our fund balance in revenues, and our beginning fund balance is 91% of our revenue, and the ending fund balance is about 86% of that revenue number. So in any measure, our district is very healthy. The state likes to see a 50% fund balance. So we're well ahead of that. And again, on an operating basis, we have a small deficit, but very manageable, I think. So the district is in good shape.
Discussion?
Is the Kruse HVAC stuff included in these numbers?
The Kruse HVAC stuff is included in this, yes.
So the expenditure and then the because that's getting paid for by the
Yes,
ESSER?
correct.
But the FERC is, I
The
assume,
FERC one
not.
is not included in there. If it is, it would just come out of fund balance. That one is being paid for not by a grant, but by
Okay.
accumulated fund balance.
And we're thinking that it's gonna be $1.3 million?
Right.
Maybe a bit more. I'm thinking probably 1.56-ish, but we don't know yet.
Okay.
And it's also not clear if that happens this next summer, whether it would be a fiscal year '23 expense or a fiscal year '24 expense, depending on when those come due.
Right. Almost for sure it would be in the following year, because even if they did some of the work in June, by the time they send us the bill and we pay it, it'll be in the new fiscal year.
Okay. After that, our fund balance will be getting down pretty close to 80%, right?
Yep.
Because we're gonna do that, we're gonna do another abatement, we're gonna have another big deficit next year, right? So, okay. Not a criticism, just sort of talking it
Matter
out.
of fact, yeah.
Tracking where we're at.
Okay.
And the year-end actuals tend to come out a little bit better than the budget
they usually do.
projections? Yeah.
And actually, that 80% is what we want our fund balance to be. We don't want it to build up
Be too
and up and
high.
up.
Yeah, you don't wanna hold too much money either, that's not right either.
So I think things like paying for an HVAC project out of fund balance is a wise use of that money instead of borrowing
Yeah.
more.
For sure.
The operating deficit is nice, that's a really nice number
Yep.
compared to where we've been.
Looking good.
Other discussion? Okay. Gonna open the floor for public comment. 3.3, is there public comment on the budget proposal? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Aye.
Malloy?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes. So the budget hearing is adjourned. Now I will gavel in for the regular business meeting. Calling the meeting order. Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Here. Sorry.
Malloy?
Here.
Dunlap?
Here.
Casper?
Here.
Lloyd, here. Barry?
Here.
Nenza?
Here. 3.1, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to report that we had an almost, I would describe as nostalgic opening to school this year. The number of smiling children, smiling parents, enthusiastic staff, teachers greeting their kids with big smiles, and their parents and the like. We had amazing weather for it. It was just a really feel-good opening to the school year. And everyone that I talked to on the campuses that I visited felt the same way. So it felt like the good old days, for lack of a better phrase. So that's just the kind of start that we wanted, hoped for, planned for, and I think needed. So we're off to a great start. My next item is with regard to curriculum night. We're looking forward to those curriculum nights. The elementary one is coming up this week, Thursday, the 15th, at 6 p.m. at each of the elementary schools, and the middle school will host theirs on September 22nd, next week, from 6 to 7. And the purpose of curriculum night is to build family partnerships and engagement in learning content. So you'll see that in your board packet, we've identified some objectives for the night, identifying essential learning for the year, teachers' learning vision, how learning will be assessed, our model for parent-teacher conferences, why it's important for students and parents and teachers to set goals together. We're really emphasizing a focus on two-way communication this year between the school and the home. They're going to also get an introduction to what resources and materials are going to be used in the classroom for student learning, and an introduction to our learning platforms of either Schoology or Seesaw, depending on what grade level they are, and what experience teachers want their students to have. And I'm hoping that teachers will get some feedback from parents about what their hopes are for the school year as well. And also what opportunities are there for parents to get into the schools and volunteer and be an asset to their school. So elementary school information will be shared through grade levels. That's going out already. Principals are using their s'mores as well. And they've split the elementary session into 2 sessions so that families who have more than one elementary-aged child in their home will be able to experience it for each. And Central will have a little bit more of an open format. They did that last year, and it was very successful, where parents can come and visit and kind of shop around by subject area or by activity or interest. So we look forward to welcoming families this week and next for our curriculum nights. I want to give the board a quick update on special education transportation. As the board's already aware, and a good number of members of the public are aware, our special education bus company experienced a theft of catalytic converters from a good number of buses in their fleet, which dramatically and suddenly impacted our and their ability to provide transportation to our special education students. I was very impressed with the company's reaction to this unfortunate circumstances. They've gotten some partnerships with other bus companies, our regular ed bus company among them, and they've gotten a good amount of special education transportation back up and running. You'll see the stats in your board packet. We've got 81 total students that receive special ed transportation. 12 routes of our 15 special education routes are back up and running. 3 routes are not. They are either to co-op outplacement schools that are out of our district or to Fulton. We've still got routes at Fulton a route at Fulton that's not running. So there are 24 students that typically receive that specialized transportation service that still are not, and the bus company is working quickly to rectify that. Just a really unfortunate circumstance for them, and it's had a result to us, but Kelly and her department have done an outstanding job with communications with the help of the principals and their office staffs to keep those affected students up to date on what's available to them and what's not. And because of that good communication, I really think that's a contributing factor to how reasonable and understanding parents have been for the most part, because what a disruption to families when they're counting on that transportation and they don't get it. So really hats off to everybody involved except the thief, who I hope we'll have in custody here pretty soon. So finally, one of the board's focuses for this year, and therefore mine and the district's, is parent communication and feedback. And I'm going to ask Keegan to say a few words about this little pilot s'more that you have in your executive content that's going to, if it pleases the board, this is something that we can do monthly, the week following board meetings, to give the community who's maybe not participating in board meetings a taste of the board's business each month. It'll also have a mechanism for some two-way communication about a topic of the board's choice or the district's choice each month. So Keegan, do you want to say a few words about that?
So last summer, we kind of surveyed our families about some of the communications that we were going out. And one of the top responses we got, some of the information they wanted from the district level, were monthly updates on important actions taken by the board at each monthly board meeting. So this is kind of one of those responses to the feedback we received from our families. Just kind of a simple s'more, giving our families the information that they kind of want. So it's kind of just a bulleted list of the information heard by the board members from the superintendent and the administration, and then also a bulleted list of the important action taken by the board each month. And also a form you will see is built into the s'more, where they can ask questions about how the board takes action and any information they need about the board meetings, and then also obviously a list of the board members, a list of the administration, and then information on how they can watch the board meetings online, when the next board meeting is, where it will be held. Most of that information is evergreen, so it won't need to be updated all the time. Mostly that first section you'll see, the board notes, the September board notes, that's mostly the only section that will need to be updated every month. So the idea is that this would be sent out the day after the board meeting. So most of that can be built out from the agenda, so I should be able to have it ready to go out the following day. So Tuesday every month, or the following day, Wednesday next month, is when it would be going out. And then after that, in the same update is the trimester kind of update that we would be sending out, and that would be more district-wide kind of information.
I have the luxury, sometimes I get little brainstorms or little ideas, and then I have luxury of not having to make it happen. And whenever I say something like this to Keegan and Angela, in this case it was Keegan and Angela, you know, I guess a little part of me expects them to say, you know, kind of think, oh man, another thing or whatever else. They both were enthusiastic and excited about it, and in no time at all had some ideas. And then you see that sample s'more. I mean, that's our first, I say their first crack at this, and I think it's shiny and professional, and includes good content, and that the quality of that is completely attributable to the work of Keegan and Angela. So I just want to acknowledge that and appreciate both of you for your hard work.
Thank you.
There's one other matter that isn't on your superintendent's report list because it came up this afternoon, but I just wanted to make the board aware. You know, we've been streaming our regular meetings live on YouTube, and then archiving those for other people to consume at a later date. And I want to just let the board know that I'm checking in with Jeff Galitz. I don't know what the rules are for that. You know, we've got closed session tapes rules, and we've got separate rules for regular open session minutes and closed session minutes. So I want to see if there's some statute about how we handle that. How long should it be public? How long do we have to keep it? Do we have to keep it? If we don't keep it, do we destroy it? Do we need to act in order to destroy it? So I just want to let the board know that I'm doing a little bit of research on that so that the board responsibly handles that information, that data. So once I hear back from him, I'll let you know on the proper way to care for that. I know that what we're doing is in good order. I just, in perpetuity, I want to make sure that we're handling those records in an appropriate and responsible way. And finally, we've got one celebration. Erin Weber and her husband welcomed a baby boy, John Leo, on August 11th, 5 pounds, 4 ounces, 18 inches long. John came a little early, but everybody's doing well. Erin is a speech and language professional at Central, so we wish this family well and celebrate with them. And then condolences to Teresa Burlington, who lost her mother-in-law. Teresa is a first grade teacher at Fierk, so we extend our condolences to her and her family. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. 4.1, reports from union representatives.
Okay, just something, quick update. Teachers have been very busy. The start of the year is always a busy time. This year seems especially so. Getting classrooms ready for their current assignments and welcoming the students. That's always the best part. We've also had a lot of different events at the different schools. We've had the open houses. We've had at Memorial Grandparents' Night. We've had the ice cream social here at Kruse. We're getting ready for curriculum night. We're excited to be able to share our current curriculum, especially the new phonics program, the foundations in K-2, and we're looking forward to partnering more with families. Several of the schools, including Memorial and Fierk, have been opening up some of their gently used books to families so they can create their own family libraries. We thought that was a good way to get more books into the hands of more kids, so we're interested in doing that. We're working on a lot of parent involvement in the school year this year. We've been setting up some side-by-sides already. Some of them won't happen until winter, but we're getting everything getting going. Also working with them to start goals so that parent-teacher conferences can be more student-directed and more student involvement in setting the goals and the parents having a good understanding of what those goals are. So a lot of that going forth on Thursday, as Dr. Steywick had mentioned. We start map testing at some buildings this week. Some have already started. So we're kind of hitting the ground running with the map test. We should have that data back in just a few weeks, which always helps to inform our teaching going forward. And that's about it. We're eager to kind of get September behind us, only because it's such a flurry of activity and kind of settle into some new routines. But it's all going well. That's it.
Thank you.
Karen?
So mine's real short. Basically, the union, ESP union, we're servicing our students, giving the best that we can. Some of us want to actually learn more about the specific needs, the different disabilities and such that they have. So we're trying to do some research ourselves to learn stuff. And then basically, we're just living the dream, taking care of the students.
Thank you. Additional union report. Seeing none. 5.1, citizens may address the board at this time. Seeing no citizens, moving on. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move we approve 6.1, approval of minutes, 6.2, approval of closed session minutes, 6.3, approval of the destruction of closed session tapes, 6.4, approval of financial items, and 6.5, approval of personnel items.
Second.
Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata. Malloy.
Yes.
Dunlap.
Yes.
Gasper.
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes. 6.6, approval of budget for fiscal year '23.
Yes, it's my pleasure to recommend this budget to the board on behalf of Jeff Charleston. I think that this board and district has a rich tradition of fiscal responsibility and good taxpayer stewardship. I think that this budget is representative of both of those things, and I'm excited to recommend it for your approval.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the fiscal year 2023 budget as presented at the budget hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata.
Yes.
Malloy.
Yes.
Dunlap.
Yes.
Gasper.
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes. 6.7, approval of CMS band trip.
Okay, this is top secret. So, well, the location is top secret. So the board can see the location of the trip in their executive content, but we're purposefully not saying it out loud because Mr. Freeland wants to surprise surprise the kids with the location when it's announced. So I'm recommending that the board approve this trip. The board needs to approve it since it's either overnight or out-of-state trip. So I'm asking for your approval for that trip tonight.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the overnight CMS band trip plan for the spring of 2023 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion. Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Malloy?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes. 6.8, approval Kruse HVAC project.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over here to Matt in just a second, and he and Jay Money can give you the gist. We've been through this in pretty good detail in Committee of the Whole. You'll see in executive content, we've got the actual proposal from Precision. And the base project is the 1.3 we discussed. I understand that Matt and Jay Money want to advocate for some of the ads. So I'll let them take that away so we can get a final project for your approval tonight.
Sure, we included some additional optional work to be done at the schools to improve the HVAC. So we did the base project, which would give us all the new equipment, and in the proposal, there's something called screen walls. When we did the additions, Orland required us to surround the new rooftops with screen walls. Precision has reached out to Orland. We don't have a definite answer on that, but they did get pricing, so we'll know if Orland does require it. Also, we're not going to be doing any water heater replacement, but the other thing that we're looking forward to doing is to access the rooms that the equipment is. Myself or Mike Vol have to get a ladder and go through a hallway ceiling, and then there's two doors that open up. It's not safe to operate that way. It also interrupts the school day when we have to get into that's FERC. We have pull downs in the bathrooms. We have to close the bathroom down, so we're looking to add roof hatches into to gain access through the roof, so we're not disrupting the school day. And the last add-on that we're requesting the board to approve as part of this project is the front office rooftop unit. It's 20 years, I believe it's 20 years old, which is about 5 years past its life expectancy, and it has been giving us issues, especially during the heating season. I think Kim could back that up, and this will definitely save some money if we do it with this project rather than a company having to mobilize separately just for that unit. Those are some of the add-ons that we do think are important, and we're hoping that it'll be approved by the board with this project.
So if the board approves it tonight as written or as presented in the attachment, then whether or not the screens are necessary after we hear back from Orland Park, Matt will automatically have the authority to add that if it's necessary and not add it if it's not.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the contract for Kruse HVAC improvements as presented.
Is there a second?
Very good.
Discussion? Okay, Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Malloy?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes. 7.1, Ferric HVAC project.
Yeah, Rick asked a very good question, I thought, in Committee of the Whole about whether there were any economies of scale, any savings to be had by doing the Ferric and Kruse projects simultaneously, and I answered no. And I think I still think that that's a good answer. However, what we found when we're talking to Precision about giving us an estimate for a Ferric project that's a year and 7 or a year and 8, maybe a year and 9 months in advance, is because of the inflationary environment, they're not willing to commit to numbers for summer of '24. So Jay Money and I met with Matt, and we talked about some of the other things I said in Committee of the Whole about how We wanted to do the projects one at a time, one for affordability. At the time, we weren't sure whether or not there'd be enough ESSER dollars to pay for one or the other. We didn't know what the final budget deficit would look like for this coming fiscal year, et cetera. And also Matt's time, having 2 campuses to clean. Let's say we've got a drop dead date of August 1st. Let's say the vendors miss it by a week. His team's ability to clean more than one building simultaneously and have the doors open on the first day of school. So the conversation we had was if we could get you the support that you needed, if you had access to either a cleaning vendor as backup support or additional staff, would you be able to get it done? Because we really think that due to the inflationary environment, there's going to be large savings to the board by doing this simultaneously, simply because of time. So we went with, we talked to Precision. There's really not economies of scale because they are happening at 2 different campuses, but tough for them to predict and certainly unwilling to commit to pricing for summer of '24. So based on that new information, we're going to recommend that the board consider doing the project simultaneously both next summer. And the FERC part of the project is information this month, because Matt has Precision hustling to do the same work that they just did at Kruse at FERC to get to the bottom of the nitty-gritty of that project. We expect that it'll be similarly priced to the Kruse project, but every building's landscape is a bit different, even though the floor plans of those two are very similar. You don't know what the vendors are going to find. So we're hoping that we'll be able to bring you a recommendation for approving FERC's project a month from now, and we think it'll be in the spirit of the Kruse project that you just approved. Matt, Jeff, that was a lot. Anything to add?
The only other thing to add is we began to talk to Precision about our concerns about 2 campuses, the possibility that we'd lose time, and we're going to work really closely with them and they understand the concerns. So I felt much better when we sat down last week and again today that they understand. It's called Summer Slam. It's always stressful. The previous 2 years, we did both of these schools, big projects. We got them done, and with Precision, understanding that and being willing to work with us to achieve our goals, I feel much more confident that we'll be able to do it.
That's code for we twisted his arm and he caved. Appreciate your hard work, Matt.
Excellent. 8.1, communications correspondence. There's one out there, I think.
Just one? Got one. Dear 146 family, thank you so much for thinking of us during this difficult time. The flower arrangement from the board, admin, staff was beautiful. We are so appreciative of your kindness. Again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Sincerely, Eric and Mary Jacobs.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Darcy.